get started, but I get organized. So, drop. No, you are. Beyond a minute. Well, thank you, not only for great introduction, but also the opportunity to have me up here almost last, just before Mike today. But this is really the best part, because we're going to do a little compilation wrap-up of a million things. Buzz earlier, and Matt, and myself, and probably a few of you that I either didn't see or didn't know were there, just came up over the last couple of days from Southern California, in La Quinta, California, in the Palm Springs area. We were down there as part of the Napa convention, and it was a really great turnout. Mike Acott told me they had 850 people there. Most of those were golfing because I didn't see them. The weather was absolutely fabulous. Sunny skies, no clouds, balmy winds, 75 degrees. Wish I brought shorts. Really was a great turnout for them. Part of our industry. And I love going to meetings like this and like that in the wintertime, not because we come to warmer places that I'm going back to tomorrow at 8 degrees, but because you can wander around and talk to other folks that are in the industry, and in that conversation get a little glimpse of what their world's like and what it was like last year. And that's important to me because I try to keep a barometer pulse on where we're at. That crowd was upbeat. And not just because it was 75 degrees and no clouds in the sky, no rain, and they were going golfing twice that day. But they were upbeat. Had a good year last year. Mike Acott told me up 10% on tons, 14 to 15, 2014 to 2015, 10% on tons. I think he rounded up, but even if you round up, that's a nice number. That's part of our industry. And I'm going to talk about more about that in a little bit. But that's kind of a takeaway I got from that crowd, which was kind of neat. So Asphalt Institute, most of you know that we're part of the industry, incorporated 1919. That makes us 97-ish years old. Some of you have been through our hallways, and some of you have worked there before me. And it's a great place. This is a drone's eye view of home, although it's got a little coating of snow on it right now. But this is our leadership for this year. John Janes, Associated Asphalt's our chairman out of Roanoke, Virginia. He and I were just together down in Southern California for Napa's meeting, and our vice chair is Bob Seaton out of United Refining Company. One-year terms. We rotate in December, and really looking forward to this year and their leadership. So we had our annual meeting in early December, and just part of honoring individuals, as we're talking about the Jim Sorensen Award, we have a roll of honor, and some other awards as well, but we have a roll of honor that we put these two gentlemen in this year, or at the end of last year. So well deserved. And for this group, I thought I'd share that because you know both of them, or should know both of them fairly well, and know that they are, by trade, fill in the blank, chemists. They're not engineers, although they could pass for one. They're not managers, although they could pass for one. But they've been in the industry forever. They've contributed significantly on all facets of what we do, not only on the human health side, which is really the predominance of what this award represents for them and their contribution, but also on the engineering and practical application side of the business. Just tremendous honor to share with them. Photograph on the left, if you can see it a little bit, for Tony Creek of Heritage Research, helping me recognize his contributions. Jim Freeman of ExxonMobil Biomedical Sciences out of New Jersey, and Kevin Harden, then with Associated Asphalt in our Health, Safety, Environment Committee Chair for this year and last year, helped do that award. And then for Jerry Rinke on the right side with Matthey Construction. You, of course, know Galen Baumgartner, who helped introduce Jerry and list his accomplishments. But tremendous piece of work by both gentlemen, and I just wanted to share that with you here. One of the neat things that our board wanted to start to do on a periodic basis as well was to recognize those individuals that have been around a long, long time and contributed significantly to our organization by serving more than 8 years on a committee or in a leadership position in a significant way. And so they started to do that this year and call this recognition emeritus. You have to do a little bit more than showing up, but 3 folks were there to help us congratulate them and receive the award. Many of you know these folks, so I wanted to put their photos up here. Bob Bailey with Kokosing Materials, huge supporter to the industry and to us. Bill Haviland, lastly with Associated Asphalt, probably better known for his time with, and I've got most of his business cards, 6 or 7 oil companies. Last with Phillips 66, ConocoPhillips, and so on. Now sort of retired. Dr. Earl Arp of our office, who retired last May, but also sharing the designation with them last year. Tom Reynolds, BP, huge supporter of the industry, still is. Bill Thorpe, formerly of Paramount, and Bernie McCarthy, former staff member for 32 years. So huge accomplishment to both of those. Of these gentlemen, Bill Thorpe, Tom Reynolds, each were also chairman of the Institute at one time. Bill Haviland's chairman twice. So huge contributors. So just wanted to mention them. I screwed that up. Where's the button? There it is. Right there. Petroleum asphalts. So doesn't mean it's not allowed, but it's probably going to cause some of our board members to wander over to that and look at it and ask themselves what that means. But petroleum-based asphalts is what we are about, and I know there's a lot of work out there around the edges, biobinders, bioadditives, and so on. There's room for parts of it, but that's our core. It's also, and I'm reminded of this almost daily, today crude sub 30, closed just north of $26 a barrel. $26 a barrel. Okay, so when was the last time crude was $26 a barrel? 2003. That was a little while ago. So the other thing we get asked sometimes is, okay, in here, where's the lobbying piece? So we've lobbied before, and we've lobbied in the time I've been around, but it's been for increased research funding. Very specifically, very narrow, go do that. It has been not for increased gas tax, find alternative highway funding methodology for the Highway Trust Fund, or anything like that. It's been for increased research funding, where you can go do that. So we did that for a while, and then the board said enough of that. Lobbying's falling out of favor. That was about in '07. We stopped that initiative. And today, crude's 26 and change, and 70% of our revenue is from the oil companies that run refiners. And so that's their economic world. They're sheeting off employees by the thousands. And our administration wants to put a $10 use tax per barrel on $26. And so all of our big members have huge lobbying energy in DC, and it's not about going in there and trying to change the metrics in a funded 5-year highway bill. It's going to be about getting rid of the $10 ankle bracelet $10 a barrel ankle bracelet. So that's what they're working on, and had conversations with 4 or 5 of our larger companies just yesterday about that thing. And not that we're trying to change that, but it's very much part of our world right now. But this is how mission statements help drive correct behavior in terms of where you are and where you're going. And so as we look at all of that and we go, well, how can we help? Jim was just up here and talked about FP2. We're a big supporter of FP2. We contribute, really all we can to that each year and have for years, participate on the board and all that. Trying to help with it any way we can, because that's something we don't do. Having a voice in Washington that helps accomplish some of the things Jim talked about are vitally important really to our industry and our members, and we can do it that way and be synergistic and not have our own program. So it makes sense sometimes for associations like the Institute with that mission statement and that focus, knowing how important pavement preservation and its use of asphalt products are to our members, to support them and let them go do that. So I would challenge you guys on the AMAP as members, as board members, to consider that and potentially join us in that effort. All right, next slide. One of the things we started in 2014, new and different for us, I wanted to talk about briefly, was this thing called an Asphalt Institute Foundation. So we, the Institute, are incorporated as a 501c6 under the IRS code, which is a nonprofit trade association. We have many members that wanted to pour more money into the things that we were doing to advance specifically 2 things. Research in a strategic way, and it was so interesting to hear some of the other presentations today about that, but also some educational activities beyond seminars and workshops of the caliber that we do today. Just totally different. Game changer activities that could really advance our industry and put it in a better place tomorrow. Not next week, talking 5 years, 10 years from now, having an industry that's vital, relevant, and growing because we're helping by doing those kind of things. So you have to figure out how you can do that. You can't do that in our current structure, staffing, organization, mission statement as a C6. Let's form a foundation to be able to get that together and be able to do this. It's got its own mission statement, strategically focused on doing these kind of things. The so what is, I think that we're going to come out this year with a couple of 2 to 4 intern programs, slots that we're going to get into member companies and well-paid internship positions that of any discipline. Doesn't have to be an engineer, doesn't have to be a chemist, might be a sales, marketing, communications person, might be an accountant, I don't know. I'll let them experience what it's like in our industry at the worker level and see that maybe it's not so ugly as it might be perceived. Go back to school and think about that and maybe ultimately join our industry. We've got to grow the future there, and this is one of the ways we're going to try to do that. So here's our board. For this year, you can see the longevity of their positions on the right. We've got 5 committees set up under the board. The important ones, the operational ones, are the Education Committee and the Research Committee. I think we're going to go great guns with these. We, the Institute, have an annual golf tournament that we did as part of our annual meeting each year. This year, we gave it to the foundation, kind of one way permanently, and said, you can do what you want with it. So we had some great volunteers like these shown here that came out. There are many others, but they happened to crowd into the picture. Randy Christian, Right Asphalt, you know him on the left there. Ralph Schertz, chair of the foundation, receiving the check. We've got Austin Miller of LTR, Lundy Thaggart out in California, who really was the brainchild behind a lot of what was able to achieve in December at this, and Bob Cheever, Jebro. Nearly 45 grand, 1 golf tournament, too many golfers, wet golf course, alligators up in the greens, lots of fun, all for a good cause. It really was great. So that's new for us. Want to talk about 3 trade shows that we're going to be going to here that are important to our industry just for exposure so that you see them. If you're there, please stop by and see us. First one is IRE. It's in Orlando, our roofing community. We've got a number of members that are involved in that. We'll see you there next week in Orlando. We'll be at World of Asphalt. Probably many of you or your companies will be there as well. It should be a big crowd. Nashville's a big draw for our industry to have events at. And we're going to be in the new convention center down there at this booth. I've got guys going down for those 3 days. I'll be down for part of it, as will our chairman and lots of people. It's a great place to go, so we'll see you there. And then this one is in Europe. It's in the Czech Republic. It's in Prague. It's in the first 3 days of June. And not on your radar screen, maybe, but one you should, if you're global or even Eurocentric, think about a little bit. This is the biggest trade show in our industry in Europe. Comes once every 4 years. Literally hundreds and hundreds of exhibitors, all kinds, the whole width of the industry, from construction equipment to additive manufacturers to big oil. It's fascinating. Concurrent sessions going on different themes, from technical to environmental to geopolitical to funding, while the trade show's happening. And the neat thing is the trade show booths all have alcohol all day long. Maybe that's why we all like it so much. I don't know. Once every 4 years. So the last one was, surprisingly, 4 years ago, and it was in Turkey. It was in Istanbul. And I've never been to Turkey, but we go to support Eurobatum. We typically have a member or two that does a presentation. It was a fascinating experience. Istanbul is a crazy city, a mix of cultures from Asia and the West. It's a dividing line between those two geopolitical regions. You've got the very interesting river that cuts through that part of the world, and there are more cargo ships going through there 24/7 than you'll see anywhere else. It's fascinating to see all of that. So thought I would be going by myself until my family dogpiled on that trip. They came. I was a little nervous about that, actually. But they came. We had one of the best vacation experiences we've ever had. Fabulous and interesting food, culture, and exposed us to a part of the world we'd never seen before. Had so much fun, truly, that we decided to go to a part of Turkey into the interior afterwards. Sorry for the little digression. Called Cappadocia, and it's just really interesting. You know, I want to show you my picture someday, but it was just really cool. And so we were there a week or two and came back and chalked this vacation up to best ever for our family. Wow, just amazing. So I go about my business until last November, when I got a notice from those of you that are sort of have a relationship in Canada, like Jerry probably has a Nexus card. I have a Nexus card, and it allows, you know, kind of freer access in and out of Canada because you've been tattooed and fingerprinted and all that. You've been through that, and so you go. But I got a notice from Department of Homeland Security that my Nexus card was going to run out this year, which it did. And I needed to reapply, so I did that. And you have to list wherever you've been. So I was duty-bound to list Turkey. And why? Well, it's this, right here, EE Congress. I was there on business. I can show you the receipts. And so everybody I talked to said it's easy. You just submit it, fill it out, they send you the new card, you're done. I got a phone call that says, you can come up to Detroit and get another interview. We want to know why you were in Turkey. See, bad things happened in Turkey after we vacationed there 4 years ago. So I brought my trip folder. It was a non-event, really, once he saw that it was official. But I did. I brought them, riding camels. We also do a lot of things in the industry in terms of training. Last year, over 7,000 students through numbers of different classes. Many of those DOT focused, not just in Lexington, really all around the United States and Canada, occasionally overseas. 2 guys overseas right now doing very specific training over this coming weekend, and then they'll be back. But a lot of marketing reach to try to get the word out. Why do I mention this? I mean, you guys aren't my target audience for training, but the indicator is that training is up, and it has been each of the last 3 years, significantly. And so to me, that's an indicator. I mean, that's good news in our industry that companies are investing in training, DOTs are investing in training, and folks are coming back to our schedules, at least, and our offerings to get up to speed with what's new and get back in the classroom. I think that's good news on where we're going. One of the things we do as well is we take a subset of our membership, up to 14, 15 students, folks that are in our member companies, and put them through what we call the EPIC leadership program. EPIC is just an acronym for the way adults learn through these 4 things: by experiencing things, participating in events, looking and seeing how things happen and work, and being connected with others in a learning environment. This class that we're forming now will start in July. They'll go to 3 facility tours, have some elective options, writing assignment, group project. They will graduate about this time next year, April next year. It's a great program. This is where we're going to go tour. Don't normally get in facilities like this as an outsider. We're going to do that. We've done it each time. So they're going to go up to Chicago and pick up these 2 companies, get a refinery tour here at Flint Hills, plus all the other things that go with that. And lastly, kind of a state-of-the-art liquid asphalt terminal facility just outside of Tampa with Associated. So it's kind of one of the things we do to take care of our folks. So now, I told you seatbelts, hang on, we're shifting again. We're going to talk about tons. I think I've spent some time with this group really talking about how we collect our tonnage data, and by doing so, you can get a sense of where there might be built-in errors in the data. But, so I'm going to spare you that. It's kind of its own presentation, and just give you kind of the raw numbers. So you see it here. We have to collect ton data from our producer members, our refiners, for dues purposes. That's how they pay rent into the association. And so this is, you see the totals here. Pretty steady, not earth-shattering so far. And this is 13 to 14 data. We are now collecting 15 data. We'll have it boxed and compartmentalized and resorted and produced by July, August or so. It's a little early for us for that, but I can at least show you this. So on modified asphalt use, it's flat, 10% of the totals year on year there. I mean, it's fraction of a percent. It's flat. Same with emulsion, flat, 8%. So I don't know, how this matches up with your own company's data point. Your experience may be different. This is what is reported to us, and we think we've been on a new report now for 5 years, and I think we're kind of settling out into the sweet spot so folks, one, know how to fill it out, and so accuracy improves when that happens. And we don't change our big members a lot, so they tend to be stayers. They're in for the longer haul, so you're not seeing a big swing in membership. This is just member data.
We have 93% of the market or so in the liquid market in North America. So data should be pretty representative. There's a few big producers out there that are not members. And we list the participants in the report so you can see where that's at. Normal, it's about an 85-15 split in the market between what heads into paving and what heads into roofing. Yeah, there's a fraction there. I mean, who knew that we made rocket fuel with asphalt until we got Matt's presentation? I learned something every day. But this is for rounding purposes, 85-15, and that's what the data shows. Actually skewing slight 1 percentage point this year on these 2 years comparative to paving. And paving over those 2 years saw a 3.5% increase. We do break the report down by pad and in some cases sub-pads. We don't go any further than that because we want to protect member company data integrity and confidentiality in the report. And we're able to do that by keeping the reporting regions from getting too small. So we have this also for Canadian provinces. But pretty interesting to look at this. And then just to know, Hal approached me at one of the breaks, and we'll be talking to some of your board members about how we can further slice and dice this and maybe share some of this with you. So we'll go from there. I think Mike Anderson of our office mentioned this earlier today, but if you go to our website, you may not get the same picture because they rotate, but the header's the same. And up there at the top, it talks about specification databases. And where this all came from, years ago, we worked with PRI down in Tampa and Ken's group to kind of build a collection of binder spec databases across the country. It took a long time. One, we had to get them into a standard format, so as you flip from one to the other, they would somewhat look at the same piece of information you were looking for is in the same spot and all that. And over the years, we've kept this up, and we further expanded it to the others you can see here beyond binder specs. It's pretty well filled out now for all of these. And I'd encourage you to use this tool. It's free. It's on the front page. Boom, right in. You don't need to be a member. No password required. We're there. Caveat remains, don't use it for bidding, but it's a great tool to kind of see what's going on around you, particularly if you're in a new market, you want to look at a new market. DOTs use this a lot to look at their neighbors, and then we check back at least annually with the DOT in person to make sure that we're on the same page, persons listed there for contact and all that within the DOT. Make use of this. It's just a free service. Total shift gear. Let's talk about promoting pavements, specifically asphalt pavements. So this is a structure that we're currently in doing that. I took out a bunch of the feed-in slides. This is a partnership between the National Asphalt Pavement Association, the state asphalt pavement associations as a group, and the Asphalt Institute. We're the funding partners in making this happen. 3 years ago, NAPA came to us with a new proposal that they would organize this effort and call that effort Go to Market. So there was a big New York advertising agency called Edelman. It's one of the largest in the world. They went to, hired before we were involved and said, this is what we want to do. What do we call it? And they said, put it in their think tank, and they did, and $200,000 later it came out and said, Go to Market. That's what you call it. I'm glad they did that before we were involved. That's what it's still called for that reason. But so it's called Go to Market. You connect the dots. We've got it structured under a council. So it's a go-to-market council at the top end of this thing that manages it. I'll get into that in a minute. But it really has 3 components. What we call the PEC, which is a collection of NAPA committees. There's 6 of them that worry about the technical aspects of pavements. We're really not involved in this at all. It says Asphalt Institute, other research, but we're really not involved in this either financially or in any other way. Those are NAPA committees with the state associations. That's their sandbox and not ours. Marketing and communication, the so-called go-to-market task group. This is where all the marketing gets done, and if you can sort of read that, let me rattle off a few of them. Brand management, communication plans, advertising campaigns, websites, editorial placement, yada, yada. That's marketing stuff. That all goes on in here. And then this part out here, deployment, is when you take what's come out of research, what's been wrapped with marketing tools, and now is deployed out to the field for use. So our members are really most interested in this piece out here. What's getting out into the field? What's it look like, and how are you going to use it? Rubber meets the road kind of thing. And so that's where we're involved. So that's the structure of this whole thing. Our members are plugged in. These are our members here at the council level. You'll recognize many of these names, I hope. ExxonMobil, Flint Hills, Asphalt Materials over here at the council level. I'm the sole rep over on the marketing piece now, but a lot of our companies over here on the deployment piece add in Ergon, a couple of my guys in the field and so on. So we've got good representation there. We're in a part of the campaign now which is called Drivability 2.0 by this big firm. They've now switched firms, and it's Golan, also another New York ad agency. But Drivability 2.0 is taking what they call, this is a guy out of New York whose name, the brainchild of this campaign, his name, no kidding, is Max Wild. And his brainchild, after reading all of this stuff and doing lots of research, is called Drivability 2.0. It targets the elite users, what they call the elite users of pavements. So it's ambulance drivers, NASCAR and other racetrack drivers, your emergency vehicle guys, and so on. Elite drivers, people that drive professionally for a living, and performance counts on the roads they drive on. So those are elite drivers. They put them in a big box and said, you're an elite driver. What do you have to say about the pavements you drive on? And so this campaign is about contrasting this guy, who's the EMT driver, with his day job, which is going to responding to emergency 911 calls, to his other job with his family, going to dinner or what have you. And what's that mean to him? So that's part of the campaign. And we take various professions. This guy's a stunt driver, professional stunt driver, and then his home life. So it tries to show, you know, because they're elite drivers, they know what they're doing, they know what they're driving on, they know the difference between asphalt and concrete, and they know a quality pavement when they feel it in their steering wheel. What's that mean to them, and why should I care? And Max's point is, because we as a country look to those folks to tell us what the right answer is, it should have an impact, should be good. So brand new, just starting. You're going to see these ads in the trade publications that we all use and open. They're starting to hit the street now and get some mileage out of that. So that's going on, and that's part of the campaign. If you go to World of Asphalt, this stuff will be everywhere. So we're spending quite a bit of money on this program. We've shifted it over so it's now fully in the deployment side, because that's where our members said last year, let's for 16 get into this side of things where it goes out there and gets to pavement decision makers, and let's see that with our engineers in the field we can make the most use of that. So that's what we're doing. Won't bore you with those details. One of the other things we're doing is we've built an Asphalt Vault. It's a cyber vault that we throw all our documents in that we've created as part of this campaign, share it openly, put metadata tags on it so that anybody that needs a PowerPoint on smoothness or needs that latest advertising sheet, they can pick it up, rebrand it, use it locally, and go. So this has been a big effort to get our data organized. I mean, thousands and thousands of just different documents. To share them with the field, you've got to have a way to do it. So that's what it's called, is the Asphalt Vault. One of the new things we're doing as part of deploying this out Last summer, we hired a national director for APA deployment. Her name is Amy Miller, made a big splash with that last summer. She started, her first day of work was the 9th of August, and she's been going gangbusters. She was also down at the Napa Convention in South California here, Southern California. And so moving ahead, we want to start to deploy some regional efforts as well around the country. Different parts of the country have different challenges with promoting asphalt pavements. And one of the ones that's been bloodied a bit is the upper Midwest. So that's where our initial focus is, more on that in a minute. But this is what they're going to do. And we want to take all of the partners that were in that region, get them together, form a council, do these things, have some focus goals, and to proceed to implement them with some of the materials that are coming out of the go-to-market plan and get them in the field. With that, if I have my math right, geography right. So both Wayne and Mark are in that footprint. They'll stay there. They'll help our person do that, as will the rest of these guys for our regional engineers around the country, and also included Sandy Brown, who's up in Toronto, covers Canada. Shift again, let's talk just briefly about health, safety, and environment things. This was published last fall, late last fall. It's finished now. IS 230 is its information series. 230 is a short version. So to read it, the bitumen industry, a global perspective. This is a compilation of work between us and the Eurobitume organization out of Brussels, written by our members mostly, that talks about what is asphalt, how is it manufactured and put into commerce, and what are the exposures to workers in our industry, and a mountain of references. Free download, PDF, straight from our website or Eurobitume's, easy to get, should be on your computer. If you want a hard copy, it's like 25 bucks or something. It's an order, shows up in a week. So easy to do. But if you're in the business, I would say that this should be something that you should at least have and flip through so you know what's there as a resource. Most of us engineers like that kind of stuff. I'd commend this one to you. This is a 3rd edition, so we've got the kinks worked out of it now, and I think it's a really, really good document. So I commend that to you. The last big piece of research that we did on the health, safety, environment side was this thing called the BoraQRA. Most of you should know that we're talking about built-up roofing asphalt, so Tootsie Rolls, Type 3 specifically, did not fare all that well in the International Agency for Research on Cancer review held in October of 2011. They concluded that the occupational exposure to oxidized bitumen during roofing is possibly carcinogenic, gave it a 2A rating. However, no quantitative risk assessment is done as part of that process. So we hired a firm called Gradient that does this type of work. They do risk assessments for companies and folks like us. We pooled our money with the National Roofing Contractors Association and the Asphalt Roofing Manufacturers Association through our Asphalt Roofing Environmental Council, just to have a few more acronyms in the room. And we did that. It got published late last year in the Critical Reviews in Toxicology. It's a peer-reviewed publication, so it can be referred to and used in government proceedings and the regulatory environment. It's been presented at some very prestigious events like SOT, Society of Toxicologists last year. It's gotten some awards on that. Definitely acknowledged there's a hazard, consistent with IARC, but also quantifies the risk, being very, very low. There's many other things that we do as individual participants in human life, like drinking and smoking, that are worse than this. So really a good outcome for our industry. We're working on 3 task forces. I'm almost done. Hang in there. I'm not going to run over. I see the panic. I see the panic out there. I sense the panic. Got a little timer running right here in front of me. You're all right. You're going to make it. It's not too many more slides. We're working on 3 big task forces for us. We are a member-driven organization, really are. Pete Grass does not do that. I just keep the glue to keep everything, try to move in together and happy if we can. 3 big ones. Here's one. Some highway agencies, toll authorities, et cetera, are starting to feel a little green pressure from their constituents or doing it on their own and are trying to quantify the long-term environmental impact of their choices. And one of those is what type of pavement are you putting down and what's its carbon footprint long-term. And so they're asking, in some cases, for raw data that where's your material come from? You know, what was the carbon load of that material before we put it in our pavement so that we can broadcast that out there or keep track of that. In some cases, it's going into commercial work that's needing some documentation on leads, credits, and so on. It's really happening. If you've not been exposed to that yet, you surely will. So we created a task force about 1.5 years ago to try to look at this, and our first step in this journey is to try to produce an LCA using industry data, not university data, done overseas somewhere using one small refinery, but real data, our industry in the United States, possibly Canada. It's real time today, meeting environmental permits and regulations today, and quantify our business a little bit. It's a tough process. We've got several companies that want to participate. You know, with just over 20 refineries in the US producing asphalt, that's not a bad percentage. Lots more are interested, but when do I have to turn in the data? What type of data do you need? Do you need it on each unit? Can I give you composite refinery data? Who owns it? Lots of questions. We're working through that. We're looking to see if there's other sources of data. This is a tough nut, but we're going there. Second task force we're working on, been lots of talk today, just today, about Rehab and its use in the industry. Our task force has been involved in some time, very much focused on looking at peer-reviewed material out there. All of this is posted on our website. Again, in the free space area, you can go there and look at it, see what's there. Industry presentations on that, papers on that, it's all there. We're going to publish an information series similar to what we did on the polyphosphoric acid effort several years ago about May. So we're in the final stages. It's almost done. And it's going to go before our various committees in the Institute in our spring meeting, our technical committees in the spring meeting in April, just to kind of see where that's at. Third one and last one, a very short paper we're working on is best quality for RAP-RAS use. Pleased to hear all the mention of it today. It's all lining up the same way we're going. Know what you're doing, they're different, and so on. And offer some guidelines geared at DOTs who call us virtually every week and say, what do you have that will help us make some informed decisions on use of these materials? They want something that they can refer to and use. We see that getting done this year as well. And that, folks, is it. So there's roughly, if you were to take the time to count, 127 logos on the screen. And they are the Asphalt Institute member companies now. Got a couple, 3, 4 in the works, but right now, roughly, that's what's there. And without their support and membership, I would not be here today, and Mike not here earlier. So for those of you that are member companies, sincerely appreciate your membership and longevity in the Institute. It makes us, makes what we do possible for the industry, and it is seriously appreciated. You know, so I got up here from Southern California last night, kind of late, roll in here. And everything was good on the trip, except I was missing one wheel from my suitcase because United decided they needed that more than I did. So
Anyway, wobbling, got into the hotel and got settled, and came in here this morning and was going to stay for a few minutes and see Mike's pitch, a couple others, and then steal away and do crazy stuff like email and phone calls. And I looked at the agenda that you had put together, and I was impressed and intrigued and wanted to stay, and I did. And I'm glad I did, because as I sat there, and hopefully you as well, and you listen to these different presentations, including this quack at the end, trying to wrap things up, I could feel there's a lot going on. You're learning about owner agency experiences. Okay, that was yesterday, but it still was on the agenda. You're hearing about performance specifications. We're hearing about Jean-Pascal talking about understanding, correlating, and predicting. Had to write those down. That was pretty interesting, about performance of binders. We're hearing from academia, who just gets in there to mess things up and create new tests and stuff, and trying to find a role for themselves. So we do that. But you just listen to all that, and I think you can feel the change happening. Not just saying that. I mean, you can feel it. DOT's world is changing. We took what was a SHARP program and said, that's neat, let's go build PG-graded binders using SuperPave mix design. So we launch off and do that, and along the way find out that we've got mountains of wraps so big that we're going to put FAA warning lights on the top of them. Learned about that today. And got to use that somehow. We really do, because recycling is part of motherhood and apple pie, and that makes sense, but there's limits on everything. There's place in the pavement for that type of mix. But we got to predict performance, and we're putting a lot of different modifiers or additives in our liquid or in the mix itself. What's the performance of that going to be like when it's all done? And in our current public works bidding and procurement process, I was part of that 100 years ago in another life. It's important to deliver to the public a quality product at the lowest possible price. That's their mandate, and we charge them to do that. And with the way it's done today, we've become very good about driving cost out of the product. That's where the innovation is taking place. Not so much in long-term performance. Not so much. You don't get paid for that. You got to meet a warranty. Okay, we can do that. That's what, a year? I can do that. How about longer? You know, so I can feel the change in our industry happening as we start to look at performance specifications and shift that way, and to be able to predict what's going to happen with binders, what's going to happen to mixtures long-term in place, and do that. And I think that's an exciting place to be in our industry, and I'm reflecting on that as I go home today, or tomorrow, maybe, luckily. Anyway, thanks, guys. I've enjoyed it. Be here tonight. Hope to see you around.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Welcome. I got it.
Are there any questions? Okay, with that, Jim, do you have any parting comments?
I just want to thank you all for coming. This has been, I think, an excellent conference for learning. We've tried to provide a platform for you to learn, to network, and I want to thank you all for participating in our program and giving us some input on our polling program. I also wanted to thank some other people